This is CBC Vancouver News.
Introducing greater heights and densities around areas of transit.
An 18-story building right across from my street is going to bring a lot of hassle and a lot of unnecessary disruptions.
2 years after it was approved, the city says more changes could be coming to the Broadway plan, why some are not in favor of the move. Plus,
landslides happen very rapidly. Sometimes by the time you hear the debris flow coming, it's too late.
Heavy rain, hail, and snow. The wild weather is prompting landslide and flash flood warnings for some parts of the province. Also,
VA looking to push it in, and he does! Touchdown, BC!
more than 50,000 roaring fans flocked to BC Place for the Lions' victorious home opener, featuring rapper 50 Cent. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. The search for a missing boater near Mission has ended in tragedy. Mounties say late this afternoon, search and rescue crews found the body of a 37-year-old man from Dudney who was driving a small aluminum boat when it flipped Friday night. The impact caused the two men on board to fall into the Nikomin Slough east of Mission. Police say the men were not wearing life jackets. The boat passenger was able to swim ashore. RCMP say alcohol may have been a factor. One person was rescued by fire crews this afternoon after a blaze broke out at an abandoned building in South Vancouver. Fire crews were called to the dilapidated building at the corner of Cambie Street and Marine Drive just before 11 o'clock this morning. Vancouver Fire Rescue says one person was found inside the burning building and was treated and taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. The fire shut down a portion of Cambie Street, leading to traffic delays.
Crews were able to take a quick look inside on the main floor of this area, but because the building has been abandoned and it's so dilapidated, we decided to move to a defensive attack to try and extinguish the fire. We do believe that homeless people were living in the building at this time. That's correct. We have reports of that from the neighbors.
The cause of the fire is still unknown. A storm passed through BC's south coast today, bringing hail to parts of the region. This video, posted by BC's Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit, appears to show pea-sized hail blanketing White Rock, as well as a steady stream of rainwater rushing across a parking lot. Environment Canada says it received reports of hail in South Surrey, North Vancouver, and South Vancouver. The sudden soggy weather also prompted landslide and flash flood warnings from the Columbia-Shuswap Regional District for areas damaged by last summer's devastating wildfire.
Landslides happen very rapidly. Sometimes by the time you hear the debris flow coming, it's too late. So you may be in a situation where you're not going to have warning of this coming along, and you need to be able to take the appropriate action.
Environment Canada is forecasting heavy rain and wind gusts across BC for tomorrow, tapering off late Sunday afternoon. Dry BC shows some of the province's mountain passes and major highways also saw some of that white stuff, snow. All right, it is time now to take a look at our forecast. Let's begin with a picture overall in the province of tonight's temperatures, starting in Dease Lake with a low of 5 for tonight, 8 in Kamloops and 7 on the island in Victoria. Moving into tomorrow's forecast, that precipitation is going to be sticking around with chances of thunderstorms in areas such as Fort St. John with a high of 15. Kamloops is going to see a high of 16, again with those thunderstorm possibilities. Victoria is going to be wet on the island with a high of 15 for tomorrow, and same in Tofino. Moving into the 5-day forecast in Metro Vancouver, Sunday tomorrow is going to be a high of 14 with scattered showers throughout the day. That rain is going to stick around for Monday with a high of 17, but clear right up for Tuesday. 2 years since it was approved, the City of Vancouver has started public consultation into the Broadway plan and the proposed changes to meet the province's latest legislation aimed at increasing housing around transit-oriented areas. As Shoria Chethri reports, some who live near the development are not in favor of the new plan.
The ambitious Broadway plan is poised for some major changes. The City of Vancouver says people can expect even more density in the area.
Looking at introducing greater heights and densities around areas of transit.
The changes are in response to new provincial legislation which requires municipalities across BC to change their bylaws and policies so more homes can be constructed near public transit hubs.
Well, it's important to remember that the provincial legislation sets minimum heights and densities, and there are some areas, as I mentioned earlier, where we feel like there's an opportunity to go beyond those minimum heights and densities.
He says the existing zoning bylaw allows for a maximum height of 6 stories and 1 or 2 towers per block. City staff wants to remove those limitations, and that has some of those who live nearby concerned.
And this project is really going to disrupt my neighborhood. Having an 18-story building right across from my street is going to bring a lot of hassle and a lot of unnecessary disruptions.
It's not going to provide what Vancouver needs, which is below market, social housing, co-op housing, housing for seniors.
Vancouver's former mayor says 20% of the rental housing that's being built will be below market housing.
And it was the most significant thing, I think, that we accomplished as a council in terms of housing. So it will be, I think, fantastic when it's finished.
I'm for it. Broadway is a pretty sad road now, so I think it needs some focus.
The Broadway plan calls for the existing homes along 500 blocks on either side of the Broadway corridor to be replaced with multi-story towers that accommodate up to 50,000 more residents. But some critics worry residents will be displaced as rental stock gets demolished to make way for new towers.
We see not hundreds, but thousands of renters potentially being demo-evicted for pure profit.
The city, however, says the plan includes some of the toughest renters' protection in Canada.
Renters in existing apartment buildings that are redeveloped as a result of the plan are given a first right of refusal to return to the new building at their existing rent, and they're also given financial assistance.
Public consultations are open now until July 14th, with City Council set to vote on the proposed policy changes in November. Shoria Chethri, CBC News, Vancouver.
An all-Indigenous cast of comics from across the country are coming together in Vancouver this weekend for a stand-up showcase. Our Sohrab Sandhu caught up with some of the comedians before the show who say their material is often inspired by their own personal struggles.
Here's your flowers, woman. Now make me some bannock.
Squamish Nation comedian Keith Babas Nahini has been telling jokes and bringing smiles to a wide range of audience for several years, often using his personal experiences about his family and home life to spark humor and drive his storytelling. He says a big part of Indigenous comedy consists of roasting one another.
You take an experience that you had yourself or an experience you've seen a friend or a cousin go through, and you just make light of it.
Nahani is one of the 9 comedians who are set to take the stage Saturday in an all-Indigenous live comedy show at Vancouver's Metro Theatre. He says the lineup of performers will offer a variety of comedic styles and themes, with some addressing life on reservations and others tackling more challenging matters, such as the relationship between Indigenous people and the church.
I tell stories about my own life, about my own experiences as a kid who was scooped, part of the 60 Scoop. I tell stories about my own journey through finding my identity and finding my indigeneity.
Kevin Shawanda describes his comedy style as dark.
Some of my family members' lives have been changed dramatically by assault, you know. I'm adopted. That's where my humor comes from.
Nahani says that while he has to be very careful with his jokes, he believes humor is vital for relieving the pressures of daily life. During the summer, he runs a backyard comedy corner for emerging comedians to showcase their work.
We have heterosexual, lesbians, gays, bisexual, and we don't discriminate against anyone.
Nahini says he aims to educate audience members through his performances.
You have an open heart and open mind of what Indigenous people went through and still go through, and they're very supportive.
Saturday's event will double as both a live comedy show and will be filmed and turned into a documentary set to be released next year in Toronto. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
Francophone patients in BC will now have better access to primary health care with the opening of the province's first dedicated Francophone Community Health Centre. The province is providing $1.3 million in funding for the centre, with an additional $2.7 million to help run the facility after it opens. The centre will be located on West Broadway Street and is set to open in October. Roughly 80,000 residents in BC speak French as their first official language, with more than half of that population living in the Lower Mainland. Vancouver General Hospital and UBC's Hospital Foundation has raised a record $65 million to advance research in urological sciences in BC. Dr. Martin Gleave, who heads UBC's Urological Sciences Department, says the funding was a landmark achievement.
It's special because it represents, the largest amount raised for any urology department across the country in history. And we plan to, use that money to hire additional scientists.
Most of the funds raised will go toward building a future Institute of Urologic Sciences at Vancouver Coastal Health. Seniors advocates are speaking up on World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. According to a 2023 report from BC's Office of the Seniors Advocate, abuse reports to the Seniors Abuse and Information Line went 110% over the previous 5 years. It says seniors are most commonly targeted for financial crimes. The BC Securities Commission suggests seniors appoint a trusted contact person with their as their investment advisor.
A trusted contact person is somebody that an investment advisor can call if they feel that an older adult has become the victim of investment fraud or is experiencing some cognitive decline and can't make good decisions for themselves anymore, or if the investment advisor feels that somebody is financially abusing their client.
McDonald's says some common warning signs of elder financial abuse include unusual financial transactions like increased bank withdrawals, sudden changes in living arrangements or spending habits, unexplained disappearances of valuable possessions, and discrepancy between standard of living and financial assets. Parks Canada is confirming the death of a fourth grizzly bear in Yoho National Park after colliding with a vehicle.
On Sunday, June 9th, Parks Canada received a report that a grizzly bear had been struck and killed on the Trans-Canada Highway just outside of the community of Field, BC. Our wildlife management team investigated the report and confirmed that an older male grizzly bear had been struck and killed. We don't have any additional information on this bear as it was previously unknown to us.
On June 6th, a rare white grizzly bear nicknamed Nakota and her 2 cubs were killed in collisions with vehicles hours apart. Thousands of people flocked to Cranbrook this weekend for the Spirit of the Rockies Festival. Formerly called Sam Steele Days, the festival has been around since the 60s. Our Corey Bullock went to the event to take in the strongman competition, pancake breakfast, and so much more.
A kickoff to summer. That's how festival organizer Missy Bezanger describes the Spirit of the Rockies Festival.
The Spirit of the Rockies Festival has been going on for well over 50 years, and it's just a great way to bring the entire community and the outlying communities in and just enjoy the start of the season.
Dating back to 1966, the festival was formerly known as Sam Steele Days, named after Sam Steele, the Northwest Mounted Police officer who oversaw the Cranbrook area. But last year, organizers made the switch to Spirit of the Rockies, a move they said was made to be more inclusive.
I think it's been a bit of a mixed reception, but for the most part, There's so many people that come here. It says to me that it doesn't matter what the name is, it's a great time and it's a great kickoff to the summer.
All weekend long, festivities are held across the community, from concerts and bocce to fundraisers and the annual pancake breakfast.
This is how we pay our bills at our local Girl Guide Hall and Girl Guide Camp out in Wycliffe.
And how are things going this morning?
So good. It's been very consistent and people have been coming all morning, so it's been great.
Saturday may have started with sunshine and a parade, but the weather quickly took a turn for the worse. However, it didn't stop these strong folks from testing their physical limits.
We choose to put ourselves in a little bit of pain, and external variables are what we thrive on.
Hooper is the first Canadian ever to win the world's strongest man competition. He made the trip to Cranbrook to cheer on his fellow athletes.
I think it's great. I mean, just the fact that the whole town shuts down for a weekend of festivities and strongman is a part of that is really cool.
And Bézanger agrees.
The smiles. My favorite part about the weekend is just seeing so many people so happy with everything that's to offer, and there's a little something for everybody. And just seeing everybody come out, regardless of what the name is. It's nice to see everybody out here.
An old festival under a new banner that she hopes stands for another 60 years. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Cranbrook.
Still to come, is BC ready for the big one? Research maps what the devastation may look like, and that's helping prepare for the worst. Stay tuned. New earthquake research is giving us a clearer look about what the big one may look like here on the West Coast. As Lindsay Duncombe shows us, while it could be more damaging than first predicted, the data could help BC prepare.
Using cables and sound waves, scientists now have a clearer picture of what the big one, a massive earthquake off North America's west coast, could look like.
We're able to image deeper and with better resolution.
Canadian scientist Suzanne Carbot was part of a 41-day mission to map the Cascadia subduction zone. That's the 1,000-kilometer fault that runs from Cape Mendocino, California, to northern Vancouver Island. Her research found the fault is actually broken into distinct segments under the ocean floor, and the northern part, closest to British Columbia, is smoother and flatter than the rest.
Those are characteristics that are conducive for the most damaging earthquakes.
A shift of tectonic plates in the Cascadia zone is capable of producing huge earthquakes, up to magnitude 9. The last time it happened was in 1700, so scientists believe we're due.
When it happens, the ground shaking is going to be violent. The tsunami wave is going to be huge. So we do need to think about how we can better prepare.
This seismologist says the new data also indicates an earthquake off BC's coast could happen closer to the surface, shortening warning time. He anticipates this research will help communities plan.
We can think about what those earthquakes might look like and sort of build a scenario.
The research will also help modelers understand how a tsunami might hit, indicating where it's safe to build.
This information of where the ocean plate is, how it's dipping, how shallow it is, how smooth it is, that feeds directly into our ability to generate and model tsunamis.
Although the new maps show what an earthquake might look like, they don't indicate when it could happen. Some of the Earth's mysteries, even the most sophisticated science, can't yet reveal. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Prime Minister faced questions today about what he said to India's Prime Minister on the sidelines of the G7. The interaction yesterday was the first since Trudeau publicly accused India's government of involvement in the killing of a Sikh activist on Canadian soil. The CBC's Ashley Burke reports.
A day after coming face-to-face with India's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau was tight-lipped about their conversation.
I highlighted that there are important issues that we need to work together on.
Trudeau wouldn't say more.
I'm not going to get into the details of this issue. There's important but sensitive issues that we need to follow up on. But this was a commitment to work together in the coming times.
Trudeau and Narendra Modi's brief interaction on the sidelines of the G7 was the first time they've talked in person since Trudeau publicly accused India's government of involvement in the killing of a Canadian Sikh activist, a claim India denies. Modi was center stage at the G7 summit despite Canada's allegations and a U.S. indictment about an alleged plot connected to the Indian government to carry out multiple assassinations in North America, raising questions about if Modi has paid any sort of diplomatic price.
We need to continue to engage across and around the world with various partners, even as we highlight challenges, as we stand up for the rule of law and the principles that drive the G7.
After the G7, Trudeau headed to Switzerland, where close to 100 countries and organizations gathered for Ukraine's peace summit.
I believe that we will witness history being made here at the summit.
Ukraine's president is looking for more diplomatic buy-in for his peace plan, which includes a demand that Russia withdraw its troops from all Ukrainian territory. But Russia's president said he'll only end the war if Ukraine hands over 4 provinces claimed by Moscow and drops its NATO bid. Ukraine said no and did not invite Russia to these talks that will continue tomorrow. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Circe, Switzerland.
Here we have a live shot of BC Place, where the BC Lions had a roaring comeback tonight, collecting its first victory of the season. That's next. Stay with us. The BC Lions collected their first victory of the season after beating the Calgary Stampeders 26-17 in front of a sold-out crowd.
VA looking to push it in, and he does! Touchdown, BC!
Lions quarterback Vernon Adams Jr. threw for 277 yards and connected on 17 of 29 attempts, including 2 touchdowns. But football wasn't the only show at BC Place tonight. Rapper 50 Cent performed before kickoff, singing hits such as In Da Club and Candy Shop for the crowd of almost 53,000 people. The Lions will play the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg on Friday. A packed crowd to see those Lions roar. That is your late news for Saturday, June 15th. Thank you so much for watching. For news at any hour, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. Hope you have a great night.